What's up guys, Mike here from Job Ready English with a special video about if your visa is ending in January 2021, what can you do? First of all, a real big up to the LSE Alumni Association who've been in contact with me. I've had loads of students getting in touch with me with individual questions. We've been crazy busy. Apologies for the sort of disjointed video schedule. It should be getting much better from this week on. Got some really exciting products and stuff coming out. If you haven't already done so, make sure to like, comment and subscribe to the channel. Advert done. So what I want to talk to you about today is, the same problem that I've gone through since 2013, which is basically lots of students getting in touch with me around October and going, fuck, I need a job, help, 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 help. Look, I get it, right? When I was a student, I just completely disorganized, so it's not about turning around and saying like, well, you should have started 6 months earlier and then you really wanting to punch me in the face. It's just about, I wanted to give you guys some advice, which has really come about all the conversations that I've had with students from last year. If you've got more comments or questions, post them down in the chat. You're also really welcome to email me at mike@jobreadyenglish.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I think I'm like Michael Muttiah. Yeah, or come and like the Facebook page, all of that good stuff, which you can find over on our socials. So what I want to do is really lay out kind of a 7-step process for understanding this problem that I've gone through time and time again with hundreds of different students. So first of all, what's your time frame that you're dealing in? We already know the problem. You want to get a visa to stay and work in the UK. Well, honestly, so at the time of making it's the 6th of October, your time frame is about mid-December. That's kind of what you're pitching for. If you've really got nothing in the works by mid-December, it's incredibly unlikely that you will stay and work in the UK. I really pride myself on the fact that Job Ready English is here to deliver you the best information, but sometimes it isn't the best sounding information. But we're here to tell you the truth that other institutions aren't for some reason willing to say or don't want to speculate on and all that bullshit. Why? Because companies will sort of ramp down in mid-December. They will not all of them will stop applications processes, but they're going to go on a skeleton crew, people going on holiday, so they're not going to be as effective or as quick in dealing with people's applications. Companies also need about a month to process a visa. To actually give a certificate of sponsorship is pretty much instant. Bearing in mind a lot of big companies will use a law firm or an in-house legal team. The other thing to think about as well is that you still need to go and visit a visa centre, take your documents, maybe have an interview like this, things to go through. The question that was asked of me last week, but could I, if I got a course on say the 30th of January when my visa ends, will I have to leave the country? The answer is no. And caveat, I am not an immigration advisor. I'm going based upon my understanding of the immigration guidelines, which I'm familiar with, but I'm not an immigration lawyer. Okay, caveat over. Because what happens is the process is then in the system, right? So you're now applying to switch from a tier 4 to a tier 2. You'd be able to stay in the country until that process is resolved, either successfully or unsuccessfully, when you have to leave the country. So now, 6 different points or questions for you to think about in approaching this problem, which I think will be really helpful. And I've dealt with quite a few students this and last week. So first of all, can you do another master's? That's always the first question I ask. I know a lot of you watching this will kind of grow and be like, are you fucking kidding me? I don't want to do another master's. I've just done a master's. The thing is, you are in the unfortunate position of really the last batch of students for a while who can't access this new super awesome post-study work system, the graduate immigration scheme, where you get 2 years after your studies to look for a job and also work in any job, which is sweet because the UK is becoming a fantastic destination for international students. We are number 1. We recently overtook the United States because shit be crazy in the US. I don't have an opinion, but it's fair to say that it's not regular. There is some irregular stuff that's happening, and only Canada has the same kind of post-study working rights now as the UK. And of course we've got London and a lot of big companies who are based here, which kind of puts us slightly, we're different to Canada. We offer a different proposition. So if you can do that master's, don't think about it as an initial 1-year cost. Think about it as a cost spread over 3 years, with a much better opportunity to return upon that investment, because you can probably earn up to 4 or 5 times more than you'd earn as a graduate in your home country. Plus you'd have access to lots of different types of work after your study, which is covered by the post-study work visa. There's a lot of really interesting things to think about with that, but I think your best chance of finding a job in the UK is to be in the UK. The second thing to think about is, are you being too specific? So I was approached by a young lady from LSE who I think studied something like architecture or urban design, and she said, but Mike, I've looked for all these jobs in architecture and urban design and nobody's hiring and nobody's sponsoring. And I was like, dude, you need to go broader. You're way too narrow. So basically it's like turning up, I don't know if you ever went shopping during COVID. It was like rocking up to the supermarket and thinking, I've never had turkey legs, but that appears to be the only meat that's available. Or, I've never had marrow as a vegetable, but that seems to be the only vegetable left. I have some marrow. Don't be picky. Try not to be too specific. And if you're having difficulties, broaden out to those professional services, financial services, banking. If you go to jobreadyenglish.com, you can see I wrote a big article on the biggest tier 2 sponsors and the companies who are most likely to apply and sponsor, which, let's be honest with it, are the big 4: EY, KPMG, Deloitte, PwC, professional services firm, investment banks, financial services. That's the bread and butter of our economy, and you need to go where the supply is. Third thing to think about is, are you applying for recent jobs? And I always say to students, look up your job, have 2 or maybe up to 2 or 3 different jobs that you're looking for. So that might be the job that you really want and the job that's kind of most likely available, like audit or financial analyst. Put that into Google, audit role, financial analyst role, then audit, financial analyst jobs. You'll see Google jobs come up, click on that, and then on the tabs, there'll be 3 tabs. The one on the right says alerts just under the search bar. Click alert and then sign up for your email address. Why? Because right now you want to be applying for jobs that are no more than 7 days old. That's exactly what we do with our clients. We're not applying for old jobs. There's no point you applying for jobs that were advertised 4 months ago. It's a complete waste of time. It just basically means the employer just forgot to close that job because they've got a million and other things to do. So make sure you're applying for recent jobs. Fourth thing, stop one-click applying. It's a complete waste of time. One of the things that we have here at Job Ready English is we use LinkedIn Premium, and whenever a job gets advertised, I can actually see how many people have applied for that job, and it's just bananas. It could be well over 1,000 people applying for one job. So an important kind of thought process to think about is, if it's easy for you, it's easy for everybody else, and it's easy for everybody else, then it's hard for everybody, because there's just so many people applying for those jobs. So if you can, even though you might be sort of getting a bit desperate and a bit scratchy and just thinking shit, I need to get a job, do quality over quantity. It always trumps, because you sitting there and kind of making yourself feel a bit better because you're like, oh, I've been on Indeed and I've applied for 6,000 jobs, when you literally just clicked one-click apply, the same as everybody else. It's really unlikely you're going to get picked. And if you don't believe me, what have your results been like so far? Always think to yourself, it's not about, looking to somebody else and thinking, oh my God, he said this, blah, blah, blah. It's just about thinking to yourself, is what I'm doing getting me closer to where I want to get to? If it's not, do something else, trying to sort of switch it up. The fifth thing to think about, and this is particularly pertinent for international students and students who require a tier 2 visa. I get asked this every year. They'll say, should I contact some recruiters, like recruitment consultants? And recruitment consultants are fantastic. I've got a couple of friends who run wonderful companies of recruiters for specific industry. But in all honesty, for international students, it's a waste of time. The reason being is that, they are driven by commission, and they want to get together the best candidates to put forward to the client to get the role, to get paid. A lot of times what I tend to find is recruiters won't check about your right to work stuff. They'll just kind of quickly look at your LinkedIn profile, get in touch with you, you'll have a conversation, and number one, it's crushing. To the best of my knowledge, I've never had anybody get in touch with me saying, actually Mike, I spoke to a recruitment consultant and they find me a job with sponsorship right away, so you're wrong. And if that's happened to you, feel free to post in the chat and just quote me. and just go, Mike, you're wrong and I'm right. I've just never had it happen because it's just it's aggravation for the recruitment consultants. There's nothing bad about what they're doing. They're just sort of constantly in momentum trying to fill placements for clients. The sick thing that I want you to think about is, and I just want to give you the God's honest truth, right? So I was asked this question point blank by quite a few students, and they said, look, just level with me. How likely is it that I'm going to get a job? It's October, my visa ends in January. It's pretty unlikely. And you knew that. You wouldn't be watching this video otherwise. I would say I've had less than 5 people where I've seen it work for them over 7 years and over a couple of hundred clients. And they weren't starting from nothing. They were starting from already having quite a lot of momentum and training. So it is really difficult. It's definitely not impossible, but it is going to require you to be really focused, specific, looking at stuff that's recent and not wasting your time on busy work that's not really effective. And just the last thing to really be mindful of is that there are a lot of companies who are sneaky fucks. What they're going to do is, and I've particularly seen this of Asian companies, they'll kind of approach students who they know their visa is ending in January and they'll say, yeah, if you do a good job, we'll sponsor you. Number one, there is no guarantee. Number two, make sure you set something like our free web app like sponsortier2.com and find out if they actually sponsor. I've seen tons of students get conned this way. Number three, if you can, just say, oh, when has this happened before? Like, if you're looking around the office and no one's been sponsored by that company, red flags all day long. And that's not to say there aren't companies who are genuinely doing that, because let's face it, it's during COVID, there's a potential recession, companies are scrambling just to keep themselves afloat. Be really mindful of that. And lastly, please do not buy a visa. So this has happened. I've heard quite a few cases. I've seen people do this, and I've seen people get conned for up to £50,000, where they will buy a visa. The way that it works is a company will go on the sponsorship list. They will say, we will give you a visa. Like, they'll make up some phony job, they'll have an application process, they'll give you the visa, and what happens is, number one, if they're doing it for you, they're doing it for other people. What that means is that the Home Office isn't stupid. If they see like an inordinately high amount of cost, because there are about 31,500 tier 2 sponsors, but that's not that's enough to see in sort of metrics wise. You can see they seem to have all of a sudden required 9 chefs. That's a little bit strange, right? Then what happens is the Home Office turns up, they suspend their license, they investigate them. If you're in breach, then you have to leave the country in 60 days or change over to another visa. Please do not do that. Look guys, I really wish you the best of luck. I hope you can sort of take all of this information with a pinch of salt. I just want to put it out there and really share stuff that I don't see anybody else speaking about. Like, comment and subscribe, share this video. If you've got a really particular question or something you want me to talk about, send me through a question to mike@jobreadyenglish.com, and you can go and visit the website, and I will see you soon. Bye.